Good. First off, let's talk about preparations towards this match. Do you think we've done enough?
I should think so, because the preparation started from Accra.
Yeah,
non-residential, and I think it was good for the boys. At least they had some time off with their families here and there to give them, that mental ease, to warm themselves up into the preparatory stages.
Yeah.
I believe that from there we moved to Holland, and I think the preparation was good because I was with them in Holland. I saw how the training went, even though the weather was quite bad, but the players threw their guts and they trained in the rainy weather. But I tell you, it was fantastic, and more to the point. For me, I was not just looking at the physical and the technical and tactical aspects of it, but I was more concerned about the attitude of the players.
right.
And attitudinally, I think they were very, very prepared and ready for the task.
Good.
And that was what was really, really motivating.
Good stuff. Coach Jeff, what do you reckon?
I think that the preparation has been pretty good, but I think just before we came on there, we were having a chat about the preparations and so forth. There was too much complaint, I feel, from the general public about the budget and so forth. I think that the general public need to be, educated sometimes is a bit condescending.
Right.
Maybe informed. And thing needs to be explained. It's exactly why we need this budget.
Right.
And sometimes I think Ghanaians, we like to isolate ourselves, say, oh, we don't do this in Ghana. That's right. But however, we got to know how the rest of the world do it.
Yeah.
I think Coach Gamba was mentioning how basically when they're analysing a team, a squad, they will put, the Germans and other people will put one coach, one analyst per player.
Yeah.
So if your squad's 23, each one of your 23-man squad will be assigned an analyst. Now, we know that Jürgen Klinsmann is a German.
He's a technician.
Technician. As a player and as a coach, he means business.
Yeah.
He is going to analyse the Ghanaian squad to death.
Yeah.
So we've got to be ready for that.
Yeah.
But I think as far as we can go, I think these things I've mentioned should be something for the next World Cup. And they should start doing it way before. Don't leave it till the budget's just about to be done and then people are quabbling over it and accusations here and there. Start letting people know exactly why we need this budget and do we expect to profit from it? And how is this profit? Is it just purely financial or is it in the happiness index, which people, the Europeans, are starting to talk about because they're saying we've got all the money on this earth, but the suicide rate is going up. Our people cannot be happy if that's happening.
All right. Let's talk about specifically tonight. What do you think the formation should be like?
Well, let me be technical here.
Please, go ahead.
And when you talk about the formation, normally formations don't play football.
Right.
Because the formation is the static arrangement of players on the field.
On the field.
But as soon as the ball starts, it becomes a system.
Right.
So how operational are we going to approach the game?
Okay.
So for me, I think James Kwesi Appiah selected players based on how he formulated his objective, how he wants to approach, how he wants to play the game. And he based his selection on very versatile players.
Right.
Players who could be used in 1 or 2 or 3 positions.
Different positions,
when the need arises. So we are going to play football. Normally the Ghanaian team is not physical. And we always revert to the 1-4-4-2 formation, which of course has been very, very typical of the Ghanaian team. But this time, I don't think it's going to be like that. But I would rather that we play in front of the back four, looking at where our defensive setup is coming from, especially the back four, and goalkeeping, which of course is my passion. Let us try to have one very, very combative midfield player sitting right in front of the central defense.
Such as?
Maybe in the person of Rabiu.
Okay.
Yeah, can sit in front of the 2 central defense to do all the tackling, give them a cover up.
Right.
That is my
reinforcements.
But up front, I think we have enough quality to be able to deliver anytime team. My main concept is the defensive aspect. Let us not concede.
Agreed.
Let us not concede. That is my main focus.
Because you're after.
Personally, I think concede we will. That's why I like the Brazilian system. If you go into a match thinking you're not going to concede, I think it's unrealistic. Mm-hmm. I think you should expect that you may concede, but you're going to keep it to a minimum. However, you're going to score the maximum. That's my philosophy of coaching, basically. I love the Brazilian philosophy. Watch the Brazil first game. They totally changed their formation. They play 3 at the back, sometimes 2 at the back. Dani Alves, who we know is a right back, he's playing midfield. And sometimes you get Dani Alves running past the midfielders and the strikers to challenge the goalkeeper.
In all fairness, though, I believe that Brazil literally only won that because they had to. If they didn't win, the tournament would have been over. It would have been a riot in Rio. The pressure was too much for them, so no matter what, they had to win. But
the quality was there for them to carry it out.
It was.
Yeah.
But do you agree with Coach Damba's analysis of the back?
I do. One of my main worries was the defence and the goalkeeper. Rabiu Mohammed, I think, is a cracking player. Mm-hmm. He's a superb find for the Black Stars, and I'm hoping that he can keep his head and not get into the rash tackling.
Right.
That's been our problem in defence, the rash tackling. In the last match against Korea Republic, I was pleased.
But he did.
Superb, all of them. John Boy, who normally dives in and gets taken out, all of a sudden held his ground, stood on his feet as long as possible, and forced the player to make a mistake. That's the first part of defending.
Yep.
First part of defending is not tackling, as people say, tack. No, it's not. That's tackling is the last part, and you only tackle if you have to.
Right.
So I thought that last game, I liked the defence. He shaped it up nicely, and I was much happier.
Okay. Keeper, Kwarase.
Yeah.
What's your opinion about him? And do you think that he should be starting?
Well, what I think here is not the case, but what is supposed to happen.
Right.
The coaches are out there. They all saw his performance, and we all know, you and I, know that Kwarase is a fantastic goalkeeper by all standards. And he proved that against the Dutch team.
He did.
I was
yes.
very satisfied with his performance.
I'm actually on the other side of that. I don't actually rate Kwarase that much, but his performance against the Dutch was great.
Yes, maybe you might not rate him that much, depending on where you are coming from and with which eye you look at Kwarase. Yeah, because we have Fatau Dauda.
Yeah.
Fantastic shot stopper, no doubt about that. But look at the composition of our team. Look at how the World Cup has been, how it started, and how teams are playing. All teams have stopped that orthodox way of kicking the ball up front and running
after it.
It is now very technical.
Right.
Give the ball to the player and let them play, because players hate to chase, and we need a goalkeeper who can give the ball to the players. Mm-hmm. Technical player. Passing after stopping the ball, after having the ball, what next? Is very, very important. Mm-hmm. And this is what our players will need. And I think that Kwarase stands a little bit taller. But that is not to say that Fatau Dauda cannot do it. But Fatau Dauda has to improve further so far as keeping the ball in the team is concerned. Apart from that, he plays other functions very well, and we all know him to be a very, very fine shot stopper. But it's not just only about stopping shots.
Yep.
It's also about making the chances of your team score as big as possible. It's very important.
Anything on that?
I'd go with you, honestly. Kwarase, both Kwarase and Fatau Dauda, good shot stoppers. But statistically, 75% of the goals that are scored in any tournament, any games, is scored from crossing and finishing. 75%. And unfortunately, that's Kwarase's weakest point. If you remember the Dutch match, there was a cross when it's like, you could see, do I punch? Do I hold? Do I come out? By the time he came out, he had to do this fantastic wild dive, and he punched it out. And I'm saying, Adam, please,
don't be so hesitant.
That's right. So for me, his weakness on crosses is what's bothering me, because they would have analysed him. They will know, and you're guaranteed that tonight the crossing and finishing, the crossing is going to be phenomenal because they're hoping Adam Korosay is going to be in goal.
Yeah.
And if he's in goal and they're crossing like crazy, I'm sorry, but I'm going to be holding down
I'm sure
to something.
Jurgen Klinsmann has already figured out our weak
But
points.
the Graft, I need to make this point. Crossing and finishing, the position of the goalkeeper does matter a lot.
I totally agree with you.
How is he able to do that in cooperation with his back four? Yes, Korosay might have had problems with aerial situations and all that, but I tell you, he's improved so much, especially positioning. His positioning is now doing him the trick. You know, I do agree. Goalkeepers must learn, or players for that matter, must learn to play to their own strengths.
Yeah.
And do very little with your negatives. And I think that Korosay, over a period of time, has worked on this. That is based on my personal analysis, because I've watched these goalkeepers very closely.
Yeah.
You know,
Coach,
it doesn't matter what you and I will say.
You being the goalkeeping coach, I hope you're right. And I'm with you.
All right. Now, let's talk about who we think is going to shine throughout this tournament. Last World Cup, Asamoah Gyan did fantastic, shined, and couldn't have a better captain going into the next tournament as well. The last match we had, surprisingly enough, I mean, we know him as a really good player, but Jordan Ayew, the hat-trick, came from nowhere. Nobody could have predicted that. So who would you think in this particular tournament on the Black Stars is their opportunity to shine this time out?
Well, I cannot stick out my neck to single out one player for now until the tournament starts. But I think the good thing about the Black Stars is that they're togetherness. Now
They've gelled.
Yes, they've gelled so well. They play for each other. And that's what we're looking at. So for me, normally, I don't like the idea of talking about the performance of one player. One player. But let us see how they're going to play as a team. But definitely when the game starts, we'll have a player who will stand out. But for me, I'm looking at Kojo Asamoah. If only and if he is played at his very comfortable position rather than the left back. Because the left back, he hardly gets the opportunity to do what he knows how to do.
In the midfield, yeah.
Splitting the defense of teams apart. If he's allowed to come up front, I think he will do us a great service.
Okay. Essien, how do you think?
Essien, for me, is a phenomenal player by all standards.
Yeah.
Highly technical, very experienced. But now, we're talking about pace.
You think he's still got it?
And obviously, you cannot eat your cake and have it.
Yeah.
Yes, Essien has seen it all. He has abundance of experience so far as the game is concerned. He can read the game and can organize every team as much as possible. But what specific role is going to be handed to him is what really matters.
Right.
If he's handed over a specific role, which is to oversee and organize, then I think he will pass with
Flying colours.
I think if Andrea Pirlo of Italy can do it, why can't Michael Essien?
That's right.
Quality. I'll put him in. As coach just said, give him a specific role. You don't have to be running around helter-skelter all the time.
Yeah.
There are some players who just say, listen, the center of the pitch is your area. Don't move out of there. That allows him to minimize his energy usage,
That's right.
possible energy loss. So you got to use your brain. As you get older, your speed goes, you got to use your head a lot more.
Yeah.
And I think Michael Essien has got to that level. He's a cracking player. And I think we must make use of him. Even if it's 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
Yep.
Whether he starts, maybe he comes in later. But I think we need him.
Okay. All right. Talk about our front. We've got Dede Ayew, Kevin Prince Boateng, Asamoah Gyan. Asamoah Gyan, I'm going to leave him out of this picture because I expect nothing but the best from him. He did say they felt a little bit of pressure, but besides that, I'm just going to leave him be. I want to talk about Dede Ayew and Kevin Prince Boateng. Dede Ayew, the showman, shall we say? I personally have an opinion that he likes himself a lot.
I think to call him the showman, I think is being unfair. He's a cracking player. It's as simple as that. And as a footballer and as a coach, you need a player like that who's got guts, who sees a defender and says, my friend, who are you? There's the goal. I'm going to go straight past you and go for the goal.
Yeah.
Now, my thing about the day is that I think he's been underutilized. I think the day is, if any player within the Black Stars should be given what's called a free roll, which is not really free, I think is the day. Just because he's left-footed does not mean he should be put on the left.
That's right.
He doesn't cross. Any winger who does not put across 3, 4, 5 crosses per match, for me, is not a winger. It's as simple as that. Get him out of there. And Dede, basically, I've never seen Dede put more than 2 or 3 crosses in a game, in a match. I think Dede Ayew in the middle, causing trouble to defenders, running at them, getting free kicks. In the penalty, he will get penalties. I think that's where Dede should be used. I think he's a cracking player. And the more, how would I say, exuberant he becomes with his play, I love it. Dede, get the ball, take them on, force them to make those lunging tackles, get your free kicks.
Draw your penalties.
That's right, draw your penalties. When they have the yellow cards, you will score.
I couldn't agree.
All right.
Coach.
this is. I think this is a rare occurrence. Yeah.
Very, very rare indeed. Yes.
I'm shocked.
I would like him, even though he's a left-footed player.
Yeah.
Very elaborative on the ball, very aggressive as well. You know, and he has an attitude.
Yes.
And that is the attitude we're talking about. Very positive. And he says to you, come, let's play.
Right.
Yes. You catch me if you can. Because that is always the attitude.
So we need that level of cockiness.
That's right.
We need it.
So we need him to be given that free role, as Coach de Graaf just mentioned.
Yep.
Allow him to roam. I liken his situation to that of Oscar of Brazil.
Yes.
You know, if you watch Oscar play in the Chelsea team,
He doesn't play like he plays for the national
that's
team.
right. And why is it like that? In the Chelsea team, he is, isolated,
Structured.
Hey, stay there and play there. Mourinho will tell you, stay here and play there. If you don't stay and play, get out.
Yeah.
But in the Brazilian team, he's allowed
He ran like a fool.
to do whatever he wants.
He was
And this is
cracking.
what
He was superb.
skillful players want to do.
All right.
And Dede Ayew should be allowed to play
To go and do this thing.
Take the cockiness out of Lionel Messi. What do you get?
Yeah.
A player who doesn't take players on?
True,
You,
yeah.
you need a player like that.
Okay, to wrap things up, let's talk about predictions for tonight. Yeah. A lot of people are going with the current exchange rate, 3-1. That's the consensus at the moment. Coach de Graaf?
I think Black Stars will win because although we have much a different team from 2010, I think that the core has stayed together, whereas the US team has been totally rebuilt. So I think on that note, we are ahead.
Okay.
And just purely on quality, where our players are playing now, the level they're playing now, I think Black Stars ahead. In terms of score, I would not predict, because some of the matches I've watched, I would never have predicted the goal lines, the score lines. I would never predict it. So I'll go for a Black Stars win. It may be slim because I've seen a US team play and they are cracking. So the Black Stars must stop them playing before we play, and stop them playing is fundamental to this tonight's game. Yeah.
All right. Coach Samba?
I tell you, the Ghana team is going to face a totally transformed
American
US side.
team. Yeah.
Because the US sides that we faced in the time past were a physically trained side, as against a more technically inclined team.
Yep.
So they come in to play football just like the Ghanaians are going to play football. So I see the game to be very, very tight. But optimistic as I might be, but I'm quite cautious. You don't have to put too much pressure on the boys that they must win. Let's take the pressure off them. The expectations should be, okay? Don't lose the game.
You guys are very diplomatic. I like that. I, on the other hand, have no diplomacy at all. I would say we're going to pit them. So that's what's coming. But I want to say a big thank you to you both for coming in this morning and help talk Black Stars. And to our boys out there, we wish you all the best and make sure that you come home with a gold. Otherwise, it's going to be very tight for you here in Ghana.